Yo, what's going on, guys? Johnny GB here, bringing you guys my draft analysis for the PMC, the Pokemon Master Cup. This is Season 4 for the Oregon Duckletts. Before we get into the actual draft recap, we're going to give a quick shout out to Deebs for the draft layout that he made. Was running a little short on time, so this is a little bit different than a lot of the other draft analysis where we have the nice green background, the circles and everything. This one allows me to actually go in, show the stats, the abilities, the typing of the Mon. On the right, you guys are going to have the Mons there. But again, just big shout out to Deebs for letting me use this layout for it. Now, regarding PMC Season 4, this is our second full season in the PMC. We've been a part of it since Season 2, so I'm really hyped for this season. Last season was a bit of a disappointment, honestly. We finished 4-6 in the regular season, did not play overly well, did not draft well at all, and that was coming off of a finals appearance there in Season 3, or in Season 2, the finals loss against Verd. But now, finally, we added Mega Evolutions into this game, a lot of tiering changes, and there was some Mons that I felt that I just had to take them because of where they were. Mostly just one of them I drafted because I wanted to finally be able to use it in a league. So what you're going to have to do is, what we're going to have here is about 2 minutes of me just describing why I picked it, why it was picked, what role it's serving for on the team, so that way you guys just get a quick overview, not an extremely long draft analysis video, because I don't want to bore you guys with me sitting here talking about why I chose certain Mons. But for the first Pokemon, we're going to start it off with Zygarde 50% form. Now, we had the third pick overall in the draft, only behind, I believe it was, actually might have been the second pick, not 100% sure. But Magearna was taken first overall. Now, when taking Zygarde 50% form, I wanted to make sure I had a Dragon and a Ground type on my team. Now, Garchomp is also there as a Ground Dragon type, but in terms of Mons, I've not used Zygarde. I was a part of the APA for a little bit and took over for J-Specs and used Zygarde, but it wasn't a Mon that I built my team around, whereas Garchomp, I built around it in ICBA, so I've used it. So I wanted to mix it up a bit, and I went with Zygarde 50% form. You look at the base stats there, has some decent bulk to it, 108 HP, 121 defense, 95 special defense, so it has a very good bulk range to it. Now, as far as offensive stats, 181 is not great in attack and special attack, but the thing about Zygarde is it does get two different forms of setup in Coil and Dragon Dance. Coil actually being more viable with the new move Zygarde's able to use in Gen 7, 1000 Arrows, which makes it a very good Mon now. It also gets access to priority and extreme speed, so Zygarde's a perfect Mon to really start building my team around and seeing what direction I want to go with. I have the basis of my team. Now I need to start building around it, and looking at it, it's probably going to be a very valuable Mon this season, being able to just come to every game, click 1000 Arrows, set up. It has a lot of, I don't want to say versatility, but it has a lot of potential to be a threat to my opponent's teams. Now, for the second pick I had, I managed to have Thundurus Therian fall to me at second to last pick, or third to last pick in the first round. Now, this originally was supposed to be Zapdos. I wanted Zapdos because of having a solid hazard removal option. We had Zapdos in Season 3 of the PMC, and it was very late in the season we had it, but it was a Mon I very much enjoyed using. But instead, Thundurus Eye fits very well because Zygarde does struggle to deal with a lot of bulky water types and grass types. Thundurus, on the other hand, doesn't really deal with water types or grass types. Doesn't really care about them much because it does get access to moves such as Sludge Wave, HP Ice. I believe it does get Air Slash. Off the top of my head, cannot remember. But looking at Zygarde, looking at Zygarde on my layout, but Thunderous image. Looking at Thunderous Eye, it does get two very good abilities in Prankster and Defiant, both of which are usable with its attack stat of 115 or 125 for special attack. It does get setup options in Nasty Plot and in Agility, and those are actually priority. So having priority Nasty Plot is very good, very beneficial. Also gets access to priority T-Wave, so it's one form of speed control I have on this team, having that priority Thunder Wave to really deal with a lot of my opponent's threats that may outspeed my team, because my team I've drafted is not overly fast. It's decent, but it's not the fastest team you're going to see in the world. And this will be the first time I'm using Thunderous Eye. I've used Thunderous Therian in a bunch of different tournaments and that stuff, but never in League. Thunderous Eye, I think, will be actually very fun to use. 20-point difference in special attack, which, I mean, I can deal with that because I do get the priority in Nasty Plot. Now, I wanted to make sure I got my second ground type fairly early on in the draft, and I also wanted to make sure I got a Stealth Rock setter as well as a Toxic Spike setter, and Nidoqueen actually fits that job. Now, I could have gone Nidoking to go a little bit more offensive, but seeing as I have Thunderous Eye and Zygarde, I need a little bit more bulk, and Nidoqueen does provide that, although its stats may not seem like it provides a lot of bulk options. Nidoqueen actually fits what I want to do. It has a very good move pool, ranging from Bolt Beam to having Flamethrower, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, so it has a very good special move pool. It does get a very good ability in Sheer Force, means if I do want to bring a Life Orb set, I will not be taking any Life Orb recoil. So Nidoqueen I've seen used very well in leagues by a lot of people, so it's a mon that, hey, let's give it a shot so that I can really see what the hype is about. Now, its typing allows it. Its typing really just hinders me at this point because I do have 3 ice weaknesses now, and that's something that's really common in a lot of my drafts. Is I am very weak to ice. So there was some. There's some mons that I want to take later on to fix that ice weakness, but I did want to make sure I got a good Stealth Rocker and Toxic Spike user. Nidoqueen does both of those. Also absorbs Toxic Spikes as well, so I'm not reliant on a lot of hazard removal in games. And just for my first time using it, I'm excited to use it. There's a lot it can do, from being offensive, especially defensive, physically defensive. But now moving on to our 4th pick. Now, this is the mon that got moved down from Tier 1 to Tier 2 that I really just had to take. Simply because I've never used Gengar, and it's a mon that can hit very hard. It can be a very good Z-move user. I will get into my Z-move user pretty much at the end of this. But 110 speed, now I have 2 mons north of 100 space speed in Gengar and Thunderous Eye. It does get a very good move pool with Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Sludge Wave, Icy Wind. So Gengar does have a lot going for it. It has a very nice special attack stat in 130. But as far as that is, it's not the bulkiest mon, so there's going to be no chances of any type of bulk Gengar being brought. But it's a revenge killer for my team. I gotta stop saying. It's just that mon that it's at Tier 2, so I had to take it. It's one of those mons where you don't want to lose to it, so you draft it, and Gengar doesn't really fit any special role. It was more just drafted like, oh, Gengar's Tier 2. Let's try to snag that before somebody else gets a real bargain on it. But as an attacker, it's a very good special attacker, able to revenge kill a lot of mons fairly easily. Gives me a normal immunity. No longer does count as a ground immunity since it did lose Levitate, which is a little bit of a downside, which I can understand why maybe it moved down to Tier 2. But Gengar, I think, will be a fun mon for me to use, especially on my first time. Next up, we went with another special attacker, and this is the first of our ice resists. Now, I was extremely weak to ice, and at this point now, I'm extremely weak to ground by taking Volcanion, with my ground resist or immunity being Thunderous Eye. Volcanion was another one of those tier 2 mons that, you know what, it fits what I need on my team. I need an ice resist. I need a fire type, and it's actually decently bulky, so it can count as the bulky water. The downside is it does not get any reliable recovery. But I've used Volcanion in leagues. I believe SIL I had it a while back, and it just hits very hard. And it also does have mixed capabilities with moves such as Earthquake and Superpower, along going with its special move pool of Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Fire Blast, Steam Eruption, which is probably just on every Volcanion set. Does have access to stuff like Sub-Leftover sets, Choice Spec sets. It does get speed boosting moves such as Flame Charge, so Volcanion has a lot of stuff it can do moveset wise. But it's there just to be that special attacker, that wall breaker, and it's a very good wall breaker in that because not a lot of stuff resists both of its stabs combined. Some stuff that does switch into it very commonly are not grass types, bulky water types, stuff like Seismitoad and Jellicent, stuff that can really just deal with Volcanion pretty decently if they're specially defensive because it does resist both of their stabs. But Volcanion I'm excited to use for. It's a mon that's personally one of my favorites in Gen 6 just because of Steam Eruption. You just have a Super Scald. You have a very bulky mon that surprisingly is bulkier than most people give it credit for. And now to fix more of that ice weakness, we ended up going Miltank here. Now, Miltank's just one of those Pokemon that a lot of people try to go for because it's a very good value pick. One, you get a base 100 speed mon. You get a nice mon with 3 very good abilities. Thick Fat serves as an ice and fire resist. Scrappy allows you to hit ghost types. Sap Sipper gives you a grass immunity. So Miltank, just 3 good abilities to start with. That's just to start with. Then you start getting a little bit deeper into Miltank. It's a very good utility mon with access to reliable recovery and milk drink. You also get access to Thunder Wave, Toxic, you get Stealth Rocks, you get a Heal Beller. So there's a lot Miltank can do, and it's also decently offensive. It does get access to the Elemental Punches. You get access to Iron Head, Body Slam. So Miltank can do a lot for especially being a tier, I believe it might be tier 4 or 5 here in the PMC. I believe it's tier 4. And just having that mon that can do a lot and fill in a lot of different roles in your team. I needed another Stealth Rocker because as you see right now, Nidoqueen's my only Stealth Rocker. So Miltank's able to help that. I needed a Cleric to heal Bell stuff like a burned Zygarde potentially or a T-Waved Gengar. Heal Bell will be able to do that for you. Also needed a mon that could potentially serve as an ice or fire resist, and alongside Volcanion, Miltank can do that. Now, a grass resist and Sap Sipper, it does get the +1 attack, so it could potentially invite offensive Miltank into games that I may want to bring it. So Miltank will be added as the 6th member of the team, a 6th member that I am actually very happy I drafted. Now, I was very weak to Dragon. I had no Dragon resists, and I ended up drafting Cobalion to help out with that Dragon resist. Now, looking at Cobalion, I have used it before. It's a mon I feel comfortable using because it does give me a 3rd Stealth Rocker, which I think is very crucial. That way, it allows me to mix up a lot of the other mons. It gives me a nice physically defensive mon. The problem is I do get another ground weakness, which is just a glaring hole in my team right now is that ground weakness. But it does have access to nice utility moves such as Stealth Rock, Magnet Rise, Taunt. So there's a lot Volcanion can do. I mean, not Volcanion, it's Cobalion can do. As far as an attacker, it has 2 very nice stabs in close combat and Iron Head. to go along with a serviceable base 90 attack. It does get access into Swords Dance, so it does have some setup options. At base 108 speed is another okay speed tier to have. Allows me to add some bulk if I'm trying to speed creep any of the base 100s. So Cobalion, it's just there to serve a lot of different there. It can be a very nice offensive pivot for my team because I only have Thundurus there as Volt Switch capabilities. So being able to Volt Switch and allow me to get initiative into some of my more bigger threats such as Zygarde, Volcanion, Miltank helps what Cobalion's there to do. Also, it gives me a very good Dark Resist at this point. I did not have a very good Dark Resist. Cobalion does give me a great Dark Resist now with its ability justify giving it +1 attack. Now then, I went Meloetta here. Meloetta is mostly to serve as a nice specially defensive mon to fit our team. Again, I'm still really weak to ground, which is, it's not the greatest thing, especially with it being a common typing, but I can play around it to an extent. But as far as Meloetta goes, it's a mon that I used in CBA Season 1, and I absolutely loved it, and have really gotten an opportunity to draft it again because it's always a mon that gets sniped before I wanted to take it. It gives me a Psychic type on the team, a normal Psychic type, so I now have 2 Ghost immunities. But having the Psychic type's just really nice. It's a really nice offensive typing to have as well. And Meloetta does have a lot of good variations to it, from Assault Vest to Subcom Mine, Choice Specs, Choice Scarf. There's Pirouette form, which I have yet to use as the Pirouette form. So I'm actually very excited to have Meloetta back for this season of the PMC, and actually very excited to use it because it does get a very good move pool coverage from Shadow Ball to Thunderbolt, Psychic, Psyshock, Hyper Voice, a lot of very powerful moves at its disposal, along with reliable setup in Substitute. Now the downside is it does not have a reliable recovery, so there's something that I will have to look around, is Meloetta can get weakened, and weakened fairly easily at that, but having that base 128 special attack and special defense I think is fantastic to go along with its base 100 HP. Gives it a nice decent amount of bulk, and I do have the dark type weakness covered up by Cobalion, so there's no real threat of knockoff spam against my team at this moment. Now, I needed a ground immunity. I needed hazard removal at this point too, so I ended up going with Togetic. Now, it's not the greatest removal option, and a lot of what I wanted was essentially just snipe before I even had a chance to take it. I wanted Decidueye for my plan, a nice bulky grass on my team, allows me to defog, trapping, but Togetic will actually have to work for now. Being fairy flying, I am weak to ice and poison, but I have that covered up with Cobalion, Miltank, Volcanion. It does get access to Wish, so it is able to pass Wish, although with base 55 HP, it's not the greatest of Wish passers, but it's still another cleric to take a little bit of stress off Miltank from week to week with the ability to run Wish and Heal Bell. Does get access to, again, Wish, as well as Roost as another form of reliable recovery for it. So anytime I have removal option with any sort of reliable recovery, it's pretty good, and it does have the ability Serene Grace, so with Serene Grace I can go for the Paraflinch, Air Slash Flinches. There's a lot Togetic can do, but really, realistically, it won't do. It's mostly going to be that defog option, making sure keeping hazards off of the field, making sure that I can get into my bigger threats a little bit more safely, because it does get access to Baton Pass. So it has a couple niche roles, but it's mostly there to serve as, one, a ground immunity, two, a good hazard. Well, calling it a good hazard removal option's not there. And speaking of hazard removal options, I ended up drafting Hitmonchan with the points I had left before I was able to draft my Mega. Now, if I drafted a different Mega, I would have a different option outside of Hitmonchan. But looking at Hitmonchan, I really lacked a fighting type if you don't want to count Meloetta. And it's a very nice specially defensive Mon. I can slap an Assault Vest on it. It gives me Rapid Spin because I don't want to be stuck with Defog, especially with me having a Nidoqueen with Toxic Spikes. I don't want Defog as my only option because I want those hazards to stay on my opponent's side of the field. But looking at base stats, 50, 105, 79, 35, 110, 76. Not the greatest stat distribution ever, but it's serviceable because you look at its moveset, it gets Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, Ice Punch. So those are all boosted by Iron Fist. Having Mach Punch is actually a very good tech because it does get access to a priority move. It does get Rapid Spin, so it is there for a removal option and takes a little bit of heat off of Togetic. That way I'm not forced into running Defog Togetic every week. I have Hitmonchan in the back that can serve as a Rapid Spinner. With its ability Iron Fist, its punch moves actually do get boosted by I think it's like 1.25. So the power of Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, etc. Those are all boosted, which is very nice since base 105 attack for a fighting type is not the greatest thing ever in the world. So having that Iron Fist there to help boost its power of punching moves, very good in my opinion. I actually think it would be a very important member of my team. I did want Kecleon, but that ended up getting sniped. So this is pretty much my Kecleon sort of replacement. And I think it'll actually work because of its different move pool. And then finally for our Mega that we drafted this season, I ended up going with Mega Pinsir. Now one, it adds to my Ice/Rock weakness, but I have two resistances to Rock, two really good resistances to Rock. And Mega Pinsir is a Mon that, again, I've never used a Mega Pinsir. I'd never know what type of set to bring with it. I know it does get access to very nice ability with Aerolate, and also gets a priority move in Quick Attack and Feint, so it gets a priority stab boosted move in Quick Attack and Feint. Gets access to very good thing to help a lot of its quote-unquote counters in close combat and Earthquake, I believe. Let me double check, because I don't want to give you guys false information, but I'm pretty sure that Mega Pinsir does get access to close combat. I know it does get access to I know it does get access to Earthquake. So it does get access to close combat, so it does allow me to have a reliable move to hit the steel types or rock types that may switch into it. Now, looking at the downside, special defense not very great, HP not very great, and it is 4 times weak to stealth rocks. That is the big thing. Having that Mon that is 4 times weak to stealth rock just really hurts my squad, but I think Mega Pinsir will work out for the best of me, especially in my division. It helps out tremendous. Actually, just my conference in general, Mega Pinsir is a very important Mon to help me get to playoffs. But that is the PMC Season 4 draft analysis, guys. A little bit later than most people, but Week 1 we will be taking on the Verd, so keep tuned for that. If you guys want to see more Pokemon Wi-Fi League content, go ahead, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content. Go check out some of the other content I have on the channel, ranging from NBA 2K to Mass Effect to trading card games. So I have all that available, guys. Again, thank you guys all for the support. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment your guys' support for the Oregon Duckletts this season in the PMC. But most importantly, with all that being said, guys, I am Johnny GB, and I'm out.